All right, guys, I bought well, I did not buy. I saw this sad, very, very, very dry. I don't even know if you can hear it. So dry. Rex Begonia at the nursery. I stopped by the garden center to get some vermiculite and some additional potting soil. And I saw this little guy and said, "Is there any discount?" And he said, "Oh, you can have that one." So I brought him home. I'm going to pot him up. So we have little Rex. He's got a few leaves, some spent blooms here, I think. I'll get rid of this leaf. Okay. Here's our tag. The variety is Komodo. It does say they want full shade. So what we're going to do, I have mixed up some fertilizer in here, and we're gonna saturate this guy. We're gonna let him soak. For about an hour. And then I will come back and repot him. It has been just about an hour. I'm going to go dump out the excess water, but there's less than there was an hour ago. It definitely drank. I don't know if you can see the dirt line on the outside here. That's where the water was, so he drank quite a lot. I feel like nice and hydrated now. We're going to get him potted up. So this container has quite a lot of soil in it, so I need to take some of that soil out. We'll just save it. Once again, I'm making a mess. I know better. It's okay. I have a tablecloth on this table, so it can just get washed. Now the reason that I wanted to soak the plant is that it was very, very dry. So if I just watered it through, it wasn't going to actually absorb all that water. Once that soil got that dry, it kind of repels the water. So now it has sat in that fish fertilizer water for an hour, and I can just pop it in this container. Now this container is not very much bigger, but there is about an inch around the outside of potting soil. And I'm going to add a little bit. And I think he already looks much better. These leaves, I believe, will perk back up in the next day or so. So I'm going to put him on the table by a window that gets it gets no direct light. It's just a bright room. So lots of bright indirect light. This is a plant that wants shade, but I think while it's rebounding, it just needs a little love and a little light. So if I find that he's not doing well in that spot, I will move him to a more shady location, but yeah, no direct light, just a brighter spot. Let me go do that now. So friends, that's all there is to it. I had this container, and you can see I made a mess on the table. I will get that cleaned up in just a moment. And I'm going to leave the plant here for about a week. Today is Wednesday, January 24th. It gets enough light, very indirect, but it's kind of a bright spot. And I'll be back next Wednesday to give you an update. It's Wednesday, February 1st, and we're looking a little bit better. Hey friends, Mary here with Garden Adventures, and I just wanted to give you a little more information about the Rex Begonia after we have potted it up. So these are actually both the same variety. I got them from the same place. This is the one I got 1 week ago, and this one I got about three and a half weeks ago. The variety is, or the brand is Jurassic Megalo, and the variety is Komodo. And Rex Begonias are mainly grown for their foliage. They are an understory plant, so they thrive in deep shade. So they are excellent for a very shady spot of your yard. They really don't like direct sunlight. Filtered light or indirect light, a bright spot that is not indirect light are perfect. So as you can see, this guy has perked up quite a lot since last week when I first got him. So I did water him pretty thoroughly, but I didn't let him stay in that water for very long. And when I potted him up, I didn't really, soak all of the soil around the root ball. So even though I soaked the root ball, the soil that it went into was moist, but definitely not wet. It has done really well this week. I haven't watered it. It is still moist in there. It's not even an inch down and it's still moist. It does say to fertilize monthly. In doing some research about Rex Begonias, it actually said not to fertilize over the winter months. You really want to fertilize every other week during the growing season, which is April through October. I think this one was in slightly better condition when I received it. It's doing well. It had more leaves when I got it. I think I overwatered this one. So I learned from my mistake. I researched why the leaves were browning and I assumed it was underwatering, but in fact the browning and curling of the leaves is really from overwatering. So I think I overcompensated a little bit. So I am letting this one dry out. It's still pretty moist on the top layer, and this one is drying out a little better. This one I really pre-moistened the soil and got it pretty wet before I put the root ball in. They definitely lean towards drying out rather than being too moist. They are drought tolerant. These are excellent shade plants. They are known for their foliage. They do throw up flowers in the summer, but I don't think they're very consequential. I will try to find a picture and put it up, but that's not really what they're grown for or known for. They can grow up to 2 feet tall and about 30 inches wide. So this can be a fairly significant plant in a container garden, which is why I am going to plant them out this year. So that is how I'll be using them this summer. I will put them out in my container shade garden, and I'm quite excited about that. I think I will put them in quite a large container because it was recommended that you pot them into a container that is wider than it is tall because the rhizomes like to spread, and I think it could probably use a little more room in a container. So when I do pot it out, it'll be a fairly good size container, and then perhaps I'll put some annuals around it. So they can tolerate temperatures down to about 50 degrees. So it's definitely not one you want to wait till your first frost to bring in. You want to bring this guy in before that. In the fall, when the temperatures start to get a little cooler, I will definitely repot it into a larger container to bring indoors, so an indoor container, and I'll bring it in again for the winter and try to winter it over as a large house plant. Guys, I am super excited by how these have perked up, and they're really doing well. So let me get out of the way so you can actually see them against the backdrop. The temperature they prefer is ideally between 65 and 75 degrees. In reading, it said if you are comfortable, they are comfortable. They do like higher humidity, so I think they will do extremely well in my conditions here, even outdoors, because our summers are fairly humid. So if you can see on this one, this is what I'm talking about when I said the leaves were browning. That is from overwatering. But the coloration on these leaves is quite beautiful. Underneath they're this lovely red, and they have this amazing variegation. And overwatering can also lead to powdery mildew. They actually are growing right now. They do have some growth points here. You can see that right there. And right in here, one here, and one down in here. And this guy has one at least. Some little guys shooting out here. I think these guys were just pushed to the back of the garden center during the Christmas season and forgotten about, and they weren't watered. So I looked out and they were on the forgotten plant rack, and I did get them for free.
So I would encourage you that if your plant store has a free plant or a rescue plant section, to go ahead and give it a try. You never know what you might be able to find. You might get a treasure for free. Let me know if you've had luck with a free plant from your garden center. What kind was it? I'd love to hear from you. And friends, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.